Well, first of all, I mean, I think our kids traveled well. We left on Thursday night to get down to McKendree, and we got a practice in at Edgewood High School in Madison, Wisconsin on Friday, and Friday morning, and then rolled in there. And so I thought our kids really did a nice job of traveling from that standpoint. And then we got out in the game, and there was adversity like there is in any game, and I thought we handled a lot of the adversity pretty well and managed to come out of there with a W and get ourselves back on the bus and heading back here. So it was a good weekend. It's one of those things, you go out there and you practice, and you don't always know when you get into football games where things are going to happen, how they're going to evolve. You know, last week against Hillsdale, we had 40 some plays on defense. This week we had close to 80. So that in itself, in the warm temperature, that provided opportunities for other people to get on the field and step up and perform. And of course, Brendan Thompson had a huge sack at the end of the game that created a 3rd and 15, and we were able to get off the field in the next 2 plays. And those types of plays, you know, from different personnel, grabbing a hold of the opportunity when they get it and making the best out of it, I think that's very critical and very important to any football team as you go throughout the season. Because if you do that type of thing, it helps to establish depth, it helps to establish confidence in your players, all those types of things. Travis Tidwell had an outstanding game. Now, again, we count on him a lot, and he drew their best receiver in a lot of cases in that football game, and I thought he did an excellent job. I don't know how many pass breakups that he had, but it was probably 4 or 5. One of those led to a big interception that set up a score for us. You know, so I thought he had an outstanding game. You know, there's things we still need to clean up, certainly on the back end. You know, and there's always things that you have to work on when you watch the film and you really get into it. But I thought for the most part it was very good from the standpoint that there were, again, I think they had 1 play over 20 yards, no plays over 25. You know, so when you limit your opponent's explosive plays, that puts you in a pretty good position to win. Well, again, I thought we did a decent job of running the football, and that's always big. If you can grind it out there and be productive on your early downs and distances, that sets up a lot of opportunities for you to do some other things. You know, so I thought for the most part we were pretty good from that aspect. Now, I will say this: on both sides of the ball, we have to be better from the standpoint of some of the penalties that we took, and we have to be able to play smarter from that standpoint. Now, there's a few cases in there where we wouldn't teach our guys anything different. You know, it just was what it was. Sometimes that happens in a football game, but there are things that we need to clean up from a standpoint of penalties that put us in a situation that's not as advantageous for us. Well, Ben Hartley is an explosive wide receiver. He has a lot of things. He's played for a long time. He runs sharp routes. He has great hands. You know, so he's been a guy that's been a key player for us for a number of years now with our football team. And I think when you add into that, you know, of course, Jake Wenslick, you know, and Jordan Jansen, who's a solid player, I think you get, you know, enough weaponry out there where it makes it difficult for teams just to focus in on one particular guy or a particular guy. And if they do, I think, Will Ark can find those guys, and he has a good connection with Ben, you know, but as he does with our other players on our team as well. But I think you can find those opportunities for different personnel when you have enough weaponry out there. This game with McKendree had some similarities to our game with Davenport last year, where we felt like we let a game get away from us, and this year our kids found a way to rise up and get a big stop and get ourselves off the field, you know, from that standpoint. And so when you take a look at it, you have to be able to draw on experience, and you have to be able to draw on experience of your successes. And, you know, I think when you have those successes on game days, that sort of thing, it gives you that confidence when, you know, adversity hits, when things strike. You got a belief in yourself, you got a belief in your teammates, you got a belief in your coaches that, hey, we're going to come through this. We're going to work hard, and we're going to go finish this and come through it. And I think you have to go in with that belief. And I think when you have those successes, that makes it easier to believe in those things. Every week you have to play one football game at a time, you know. And so we have to have a good practice today, and a good practice tomorrow, and a good practice on Thursday. And then we have to get on the bus and travel well and go play Saginaw Valley. Now, Saginaw Valley is a good football team. We're playing them at home. They will be ready to go. They were an 8-3 football team last year, off to a 2-0 start. They've got a lot of their folks returning. Very good on defense, very good on offense. Last year when we played them, it was a close game. It was a 10-0 game is what it ended up, but it was a very close football game, a very hard-fought football game, and we believe in ourselves to be able to go down there and come back with a victory. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be a challenge. We got to go down there and execute, and we got to play well, add a good football team, and that's what it's going to be in the GLIAC the rest of the year. You got to be ready to go, and you got to be ready to play each and every week against good opponents.